A protest was held last week in Minneapolis as Muslims marched to try to change the association between their religion and terrorism. In fact, there's an effort around the nation to raise awareness about the issue, and those in our area are becoming a part of that movement. KIMT News 3's Dee Dee Stephen brings us more on the fear of this faith in a special report.
Fear. It's an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous or a threat. While by definition fear is caused by a belief, what if a belief causes fear? Once a month for the past year, Rochester resident Regina Mustafa has been hosting the Faith Talk Show, something she created to help bridge gaps and misunderstanding between religions. Every month, a different faith is featured. For the first time since starting the show, she invited a Muslim guest to talk about the very faith she knows all too well, Islam.
And God is all-knowing and all-aware.
It's a discussion that could potentially stir up controversy, and it did.
I couldn't find any place in the Quran that commands Muslims to love people other than their religion.
An audience member claims he read the entire Quran, the holy book of the Islam faith, and it's left him looking for explanation.
These 3 dozen verses tell Muslims to fight against non-Muslims. If I'm a person that's picking up this book, it's supposed to be self-explanatory. I read in there that my job, mission is to do this. I said, if I was reading this book on my own, I would be a jihadist right now.
Mustafa says it's nothing she hasn't heard before.
I've had, kind of harassing emails in the past with similar accusations, and again, that wasn't anything new. But, when somebody says it right to your face.
Towards the end of the show, she got emotional, something she says doesn't happen often.
And I would like to say that I picked up the Quran about 14 years ago, and I've never killed anybody. And I know there's a number of Muslims in this room, and so far nobody here is dead. I think that has to say something about what the true meaning of the Quran is, and maybe perhaps, you're getting the wrong message.
I really felt that there was just a true fear in him. He expressed concern about his grandchildren, the kind of world that they're growing up in. And, I have children too. And I sympathize with any fear that he might have as a result of people calling themselves Muslim.
It's a fear some refer to as Islamophobia. While there's debate as to the validity of the word, some research does suggest an increase in American prejudice towards Muslim people. A recent Gallup poll shows about half of Americans from other religious groups believe most Americans are prejudiced towards Muslims.
Have you read the entire Quran?
Jailani Hussein, the most recent Faith Talk Show guest, responds to the audience members' comments.
It has nothing to do with the text of the Quran. It's about the person who's reading it and why they're reading it and
That's
what
true.
they want
Yes.
out of it.
Yes.
So this is one of the things that we've noticed with both extremist groups and as well as those who want to paint Islam as a violent religion on both sides.
Hussein is the executive director of the Council on American-Islamic Relations, or CAIR. He believes the fear of Islam has grown into an industry. The target audience? Those who don't know much about Islam.
The market is all of these individuals who are selling this information. They're not selling it at a free cost. This is not their goodwill. There's a profit behind this. So they're writing books, their speaking fees are ridiculous, and they travel around and they say, here's our event, and then they have a collection right afterwards. And when someone says, I've informed you about this group of people, people tend to gravitate toward that.
Hussein believes politics are fueling the fear.
Like what Jailani said during the show, having these leaders, it kind of makes it, for the rest of America, it's like it's okay. It's okay to have these sentiments. It almost justifies bigotry and the hatred shown towards Muslims.
But there's another side of the coin that sees things much differently. Jim Hagedorn of Blue Earth is running for Minnesota's 1st congressional district seat, which is currently held by Tim Walz.
Well, the first responsibility of anyone in the federal government, particularly a member of Congress, is to set out policies that will defend the United States and protect the American people. I don't think that's being done.
But Hagedorn has a solution. He's proposing a policy that would place a temporary time out on allowing refugees to enter the country. Some call that Islamophobic, but Hagedorn says that's not the case. The policy is about allowing time to fix the vetting process that he believes is not doing the job of protecting the country.
19 people in 9/11, 2 with the Boston Marathon bombing, 1 at Fort Hood, 2 at San Bernardino. Very few people have inflicted great carnage on our folks, and our job is to make sure that the United States and the American people are protected.
He says he's not the only one in our area who feels the timeout policy would be effective. And even if he's not elected in November, Hagedorn knows it's not a will disappear quickly.
At this critical point in time, I think most of the people in southern Minnesota would say this is not the time we should be bringing in hundreds of thousands of new people from countries that don't like America.
Perhaps some in the audience at the Faith Talk Show, including the viewer who confronted Mustafa and Hussein, would agree with that. But the host says all she can do is try to get critics of her religion to see her as a community member and look past her beliefs.
I wanted that human part that we don't do very often with our cell phones and social media, and just that hug. And I told him that, look, it's okay. And if you want to talk to me more about this, I'd be happy to. And I really hope that made an impression on him. And it's going to start a continuing dialogue where I'm not trying to change his mind, but maybe get him to look at my experiences, and maybe he could start to think in a different way.
Some Muslims in our community are recognizing what might be fear of them and their religious beliefs and starting some outreach work. This is the Rochester Muslim Community Circle, and this past weekend they held their first open house event. They want people who are uncomfortable with Islam and have questions about Islam to come and see what it's like. Those with RMCC hope that transparency will help eliminate any fears people may have.
That there is fear on both sides, and that's the biggest concern, that what is that real fear that both sides have. So we want to kind of like open up and talk to people, and somehow if we can get over that fear and be able to work together.
The hope is to have a monthly open house at RMCC where anyone is welcome. In Rochester, Dee Dee Seepin, KIMT News 3.